You're welcome again to Searching the Heart. I'll continue where I stopped with the importance of being right. Okay, and I'll be looking today especially at the struggle of the church with reality, exactly where I stopped last time. Okay, and I was able to give us the background to how the church developed in retrospect, but giving us in detail the struggle between the ideas of truth and reality, good and evil. Okay, and I want to say here that I am one who, of course, sides with the Christian church. I'm a Christian, and I believe in the principles behind the Christian church. The Christian church is called from the Jewish faith, of course, and of course, you know that Islam also developed from these interactions, okay, in the Middle East between Judaism and Christianity. After the Roman Empire fell, there was a gap, left because the Christian church hadn't really sunk into the people that much, and so it gave room for the rise of Islam, okay. And Islam still depends on the same context and content, okay, albeit a bit changed a bit, but the same content that the Christian church depends on, okay, which are the Jewish scriptures, okay, and the developments after that. Of course, the Prophet of Islam wrote his own text, which has become the Quran today, okay. So this is what we know, okay. So this is the struggle between the church and reality itself. And I want to continue from where I stopped, where I mentioned the issue of the 666. And right there in verse 16 down to 18, to the end of that chapter in Revelation chapter 13, we see a very important concept that actually is defining the failure of the church. And what is this concept? It is all about economics. Economics, okay? We discover that the mark of the 666, the mark of a man that people will be forced to carry, is a mark that will either enable them to be able to transact business, in the marketplace or not, okay? So why would this mark not talk about whether one will be saved or not, okay? I thought the whole thing was about salvation. Christianity has emphasized salvation, okay? Has emphasized salvation. So why was it not about salvation? It was about economics, okay? And this is the system called the world system. It is the world system. It's not the kingdom of heaven. When we talk about Christ, we talk about the kingdom of heaven, okay? But this is a world system, okay? It's about living in this world. If you remember the temptations, if you go to the Gospels, one of the very interesting stories there is when Satan tried to tempt Jesus Christ, okay? And all the three temptations were about the world, okay? Food, turn the stone to bread, okay? The second one, okay, fall from the pinnacle of the temple and you will be protected, okay, by your angels, of course. Then the third one, bow before me. If you bow before me, I will give you the whole world, okay. So this is even, these were the temptations. And because it is a clear concept in the Bible that Satan, after he deceived human beings, he took over that position that human beings was supposed to be for human beings. That is the position of dominion over the whole world, okay? And so he was offering Jesus Christ this position, back, if Jesus Christ would only submit to him. He was trying to be clever, okay? Knowing that if Jesus Christ had submitted to him, of course he would have lost it anyway. So this was the issue, okay? So the whole thing is about economics, okay? And it is still the same temptation in Revelation 13, okay? Christians will be forced to submit to this system. And if they do not submit, they will not be allowed to buy anything in the market or sell anything in the market. Okay, and they will be persecuted. Okay, even with death. And this is the mark of the 666, or the Antichrist. Okay, and this is what the church has ironically struggled with throughout its existence. Okay, if you want to get an animal obedient, give it food. I said this in the last episode. Okay, it's a known fact. Okay, if you want to domesticate an animal, you give it food consistently. Human beings have this weakness, okay, because they are not spirit beings, full spirit beings, but they are physical human beings. Okay, they are temporal beings, and so they can be threatened by the absence of food. And this is one weapon that has successfully cowered the church, it seems. Okay, of course, in the first century through to the 3rd century, the church actually succeeded against this by defying all these threats, and that is how the church now exploded and became the foremost religion in the Roman Empire, because it overcame this threat: denial of food, killing, and submitted to martyrdom for the sake of Christ. Okay, and the church succeeded. But at any point the church is unable to succeed against this threat, it fails. Okay, it fails. And this is what the 666 is about, and this is what the church has consistently struggled against. We will still look at this after this. The problem of provision. If we dig deeper right to the book of Genesis, we will discover that Cain killed Abel because of this same problem. Okay, and this has been a problem throughout human history. Okay, the issue of provision. People make war on other people for the sake of provision, of making a living, surviving on earth. Okay, the fall of Adam and Eve was because of food, was related to food. Until today, there's a debate on whether that story was literal or just a symbolic, representation of what happened. But it was an apple. Okay, the woman was deceived by eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And when she ate it, when her husband came back, she gave it to him. Or he was with her and she gave it to him. And he ate. And that was what defined the future of the human race. Very simple. Food. Just food, okay? So this is the issue. And in my investigations, I have discovered that the whole battle between tribes, okay, between nations, and between races, all is within this very concept. Who is the better provider? Okay? Who is the more equipped person, to dominate in the world? So the whole thing is all centered around economics. Okay? It's all about economics. And this is what has also described the contest between two men or for a woman that has marked the superiority debate over the ages. Two men will struggle over a woman's heart by showing her who is the better provider. Okay? So this is the problem. This is what has defined it. And societies have been brought down simply through this very concept. Okay? Today the world is governed by how much you can pay. Nothing is given without a payment, even with the claims to the contrary. Okay? Nothing is given without a payment. Economics determines everything that we do. Okay? And so this is the problem. And this is what the church continues to struggle with. And this is the reality of today. Okay? Now, it is very difficult. The problem that we face is that those who do not know who refuse to accept the reality of the spiritual phenomena may not be able to understand this, because for them it is basically transactional. Okay, take this and give me the other one. Okay, human beings started bartering before the invention of money. Human beings started bartering. Okay, I have grains, I need meat. Yeah, give me your meat, I'll give you grains. Okay, or I need milk, give me your shoes and I'll give you milk. Okay, so it is bartering. Okay, so before then, after then, money was invented. Okay, and it continued that way. So everything is not transactional. There is never one person who can give freely. And this is where religion comes in. This is where Christ comes in. And he says, sacrifice just this little. Okay? Once in a while. Not even every time. Once in a while. Just sacrifice this little. For the sake of those who do not have. And for the sake of maintaining a national existence. And this is how he started with the Israelites. So God rescued the Israelites from the Egyptians, okay, where they were slaves, and he took them into the wilderness. And the process of his relationship with these people was, first of all, by teaching them the rudiments of nationhood. Okay, he took a people who were not a nation and he made them a nation. They were from one ancestor, but they didn't have one government. Okay, and so he put Moses over them. And through Moses, he created a system that would govern them. Okay, they would give 1/10 of their earnings. Okay, that is 1/10 of their entire earnings to the priest. Okay, who would and a system of governance was organized around the concept of worship to God. Okay, and of course, all the Levites were the workers in this government. Okay, they were responsible for maintaining the central government, which was the tabernacle, okay, where sacrifices were given to God. And of course, Moses acted as the judge or the prime minister or the president of this very nation. Okay, and he was the one who heard from God and told the people. Okay, and of course, he was the one who would judge between them in terms of stopping one person from stealing from the other. Okay, stopping one person from killing the other and taking what belongs to the other. Okay, and little things like that. Okay, teaching the people how to relate with one another. So Moses was that key figure, and he would hear from God, the greater authority, and would tell the people. Why was there a need for God? Well, God was the initiate. He was the person who initiated the program. Okay, some people believe that religion was created by people like Moses, but Moses probably saw the need to create a God because the people would not listen to him as a person. Who knows? Okay, but that is not what the Bible shows us. Okay, the Bible shows us that it was God who initiated the process. He called Moses and said, I want you to create a system for me. Okay, now this is not easier to believe it or not. Okay, but it's a more difficult reality. But that is what the Bible teaches us. Okay, it is easier to believe that Moses created this whole thing. Okay, but the truth, the difficult reality is actually what the Bible tells us really happened. Okay, so this government was created, okay, to teach the people to just give a little out of their earnings and also a little out of their time in terms of the Sabbath. The 7th day of the week, just one day out of 7 days, was the day in which they would rest. Removing that over dependence on work or earning as the purpose of life. Okay, and just taking that one day to just relax and enjoy God's creation. And when you enjoy God's creation, you are worshiping God. Okay, and this is what the Sabbath was about and still is. Okay, of course, some Christians worship on Sundays. That is their Sabbath. of course, but it's actually the seventh day of the week, which is legally Saturday. Okay, so this is what Moses created, and it's still behind that very concept of giving just a little. You give a little of your time, and you give a little of your earnings, and that earnings goes not only, it's not about worship, and that's the mistake that the church made, as I stated in the first video. Okay, looking at just the concept of worship and denying the concept of government. Okay, the part that human beings play, that there is a part that we play, and that is the part that government plays. Okay, so in those days it was a theocracy. Today we have, because of the conflicts, of course, there's a separation between church and state, and the church focuses on worship, while the state focuses on the mundane aspects of the earth. Okay, it's okay, but it is all about that. It's all about instituting a sustainable system, peace and prosperity, and coexistence between human beings. And this is what God did for the Israelites in the wilderness. Okay, and in doing so, he taught them how to provide, in a sustainable and a stable way. Okay, but the problem, of course, like I said, is that this is not agreed upon by all human beings. Human beings believe, are very selfish beings. Okay, we want to have more than others. Okay, and for some reason we hate each other because we're not from the same place. Just for one, because we have different temperaments. Okay, because of women, because of men. Okay, because of little things. So this is a problem. Okay, and once in a while we gravitate towards the evil, which is now not to have a government, not to give, for the sustenance of that government, not to believe in God for one, and all those other things. And when we gravitate towards that, okay, we lose peace, we lose tranquility, and we lose whatever makes the world good. But if we were to just have those leaders like Moses, who would collect our taxes, now it is called taxes, of course, but in those days it was just about called a tithe, of course, and sometimes offerings, okay, which are free will, in order to sustain this government. Okay, and of course now we have situations where people, because they don't believe in religion, they believe that people who collect offerings are just manipulating the people. Okay, while the same can be done in government also. A person can be in government, which is the legal accepted form of governance, and still manipulate the people, okay, in the process. So this is the issue. Okay, and we must learn to accept reality. And I think the whole answer to this question is, what is our definition of reality? As we started, if we all accept reality and we are able to delineate truth within this reality, there will be peace and there will be tranquility. We will continue after this.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with 2 insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth, and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.
So I will round up this by talking about contemporary realities. Okay, a follow-up from the videos I started some months back about Trump in prophecy. Okay, and looking very closely at the recent events, Trump is really doing his part. And you see, when we return, the positive about all this is, when we return to the reality and moral truth that we have a part to play and we don't create falsehoods, in the woke ideology, okay? We get it right. Trump has gone back to reality. He has, and when I'm saying this, please, I know the part that people like me, others like me have played in this process, including Trump himself. And I've written a book titled Foundations of Conceptuality. Read this book if you want to understand more of what I'm talking about. Accepting reality and working with reality and getting a better grasp of the truth in order to live in a world and be part of the governance of the world as a human being that is actually sustainable. Trump has done this and he is making a lot of strides. But my concern is, will he succeed? And this is the reason I'm asking, I seem to have concerns about whether he will succeed or not. Because of continuity, okay? Trump is going to spend 4 years there. And will he be able to put somebody, or will somebody succeed him, to continue what he's doing? We all know that worldwide he's not a very popular candidate. So will he be succeeded by somebody like him, or even somebody even better? That is a question. Okay? Another question is also about Musk, Elon Musk, and Musk and Christianity. Okay? There are issues with the influence of Musk on the world today. Musk was created, it's just like Trump, okay? He was created by the conceptual system, okay? That gave him a privilege to do things that others cannot do. And he's there for a reason, okay? And he has rightly been able to attribute that reason to probably God. So he has taken the side of Christianity, okay? But the problem with Musk is that he was actually a consensus candidate, okay? And this is the problem we always argue with atheists, okay? And they believe that they have such a control, and through science they have such a control of the world, but they hardly admit the hidden hands behind the scenes. And this is the thing. There is God. Beyond the ideas of philosophy, God stands on one side and Satan on the other, although God is superior in Christian understanding, okay? So there is a hidden hand creating what exists, okay? God is superior, Satan is there. And so the emergence of Elon Musk, in the very conceptual space is for a reason, okay? And he seems to be a consensus candidate, but his interpretation of this position is very important, okay? And it is important for Musk not to interpret this as a sign of his racial superiority, okay? And it seems to be an issue he is being drawn into, okay? That is not, he's not chosen into this because he is. The way Musk interprets this favor or this chosenness or this destiny is very important. If he interprets it as some kind of, racial superiority, he will fail. And Trump will fail, okay? And like I said, it is a consensus. Destiny is all about consensus. God is up, Satan is down. And if there is a spiritual consensus, somebody comes up and becomes a leader. And, Musk was that consensus. If you notice, in the next video, we'll be talking about the future of Islam. And we'll also be talking about necromancy, okay? So, if you notice, we're going to be looking at the significance of names also in all this. Musk name, Elon Musk. Musk rhymes with mosque, which is a worship place for Muslims, okay? So, this is a symbol of the consensus, okay, the spiritual consensus, which human beings tend to flock towards. So they have flocked towards Musk in their minds, in everything they are, and that is why that is what makes him who he is. Okay, he's intelligent, of course, but there are so many intelligent people in the world who don't even have a dime to their name. Musk is that spiritual consensus, and that is what makes him who he is. So alluring, okay, to the economics of the world. Okay, and thank God he has sided with Christianity, but that is not enough. He must make the right decisions. Trump must make the right decisions, understanding this. Obama became president of the United States because he was a consensus also. Globally, it was agreed that there should be inclusion, okay, and a black man became the president of the United States, okay. So there is that consensus, okay, and if Musk realizes this, he will succeed. And Trump, being now at the head of the government of the United States, will be a tool to change the world for the better, and especially if there is continuity. But I'm going to round up now by saying a word to the Christians in Nigeria. For decades now, because of the relationship between the Nigerian church and the churches in Europe and in the United States, of course in the United Kingdom especially, Christians have depended on those churches overseas, okay. But the past 10 years, it has not been the way it was because of some certain doctrinal differences. And this has aggravated the suffering of the people in Nigeria, or the Christians in Nigeria. And it has led them to cry out, okay, we need help. But I want to tell you, do not excessively depend on this. Because the Bible says that Jesus is the light of the world. And the same voice, we are a kingdom of priests, okay? And we are the salt of the earth, okay? If the salt loses its saltiness, what good is it? Okay, it is of no use. And this is very, very important. Okay, we must know that the solution, the real solution, lies within us. I've known Pastor or Reverend Ezekiel Dachomu for some time now, not personally, but as a leader in his own church, because of his vibrant evangelism, you know. And I believe that he can use this opportunity to talk to the leaders of the church in a deeper way, not in the way he is used to. Sometimes we get caught up in what we are used to, and bring them together to assert a united front, to bring the government, make the government see their plight, because the solution is within the church. Okay, not to disappoint. Trump might succeed, he might not succeed, and because of this, we must know that our hope is in God, not in a human being. Okay, and he is just a vessel used by God to help at this time. But if he does not succeed, we are still going to be here, and it's our responsibility as his salt that he has put in this world to make the necessary changes within ourselves, and to go back to the drawing board to teach again on the issues of provision and the issues of community, the way the Bible talks about it, and not the way we see fit. And this will go a long way in solving a lot of problems that we are facing because of these cosmic realities that we have to deal with. I believe that more difficult times may come for Christians all over the world, and this is what will help us. Not just depending on one individual, whether it be Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, which many Christians, very strangely, are doing, or on Trump himself. I am David Dundy-Chinke for you today in Searching the Heart. Has it gone back again?